Hi everyone, Thiago Maia here, and today I'm really starting my YouTube channel. I don't know how does it gonna get, but I'm just starting. And this will be a channel about my life, but actually I want to share a lot of things with you. Things that I find out when I'm meditating and in moments of self-knowledge, because like every moment of my life is a moment of self-knowledge for me, you know, like I'm always trying to learn something with each situation. So this will be a channel about my life, but in other words about self-knowledge and about music and about traveling also. Today I'm in Brasilia, which is my hometown, but I'm living in another state in Brazil. I'm Brazilian and I'm living in Bahia, in Chapada Diamantina, but now I'm visiting my parents and that's it. So today I want to start my YouTube channel talking about this subject, that self-knowledge or the pathwork of self-knowledge is pretty much like that series from the 80s, Dungeons and Dragons. Oh, and I forgot to say that I chose the University of Brasilia to record this first video. So the first thing I want to say is that the process of self-knowledge is not so easy because it demands to change, and changing is hard. There are a lot of things that makes you to be who you are. Some are very sweet and very peaceful things, and other things can be very painful. So people have different goals in life, and for accomplish these goals they have to pass by a lot of things, and some of them are very hard. You have to pass by tests in your life to accomplish that goal. And in the inner path, in the inner way, is not different. It's like there are some accomplishments that demands a lot of hard work. You must have noticed that sometimes you have all the resources to do what you want to do, and still you cannot do it for some reason in your life. Maybe something inside yourself that doesn't allow you to do that. In most stories, before a character become a hero, he needs to pass by a whole process, and sometimes it is very painful and demands a lot of tests, and many times he has to fix something and he really doesn't know how to fix that, and he has no idea what does he need to fix that thing. And like a friend of mine said to me once, if it's not all right, that's because there is something wrong and you need to fix. So when there is something wrong, many times we don't really know what do we need to fix that thing, and many times it's something that involves a bad feeling, or what people call a bad feeling. So it can be fear, anger, sadness, guilt, or something else. And these bad feelings can be represented in the movies by the villains, which are like unpleasant guys that we don't want to face. So many times when we have to solve an inner problem, we have to face these villains, these bad feelings, and we gotta have the courage to face them and to be vulnerable, to feel everything. When I said that the self-knowledge path can be like Dungeons and Dragons, that's what I meant. That you can feel fear, you can feel that you're gonna die, you can feel a lot of very hard things to feel because you are like in an adventure, and this adventure is inside yourself, and is all about what you lived in the past in your life. And in your inner investigation, it can appear a lot of villains, like witches that can put a spell on you, or monsters that can scare you, wars that divide you. Wars that divide. So como é que seria isso?
Mermaids. Mermaid.
Mermaids that delude you, storms that can take your balance away, and prisons, for example. Being it alone, meditating, or with another person in a therapeutic process, you have to visit a bad feeling many times until you get comfortable to get inside it, just like Neo did in the end of the movie, The Matrix, and go inside that feeling and understand that feeling, and finally you are that feeling, and you can just to unprogram that feeling. To do it, we have to stop fighting with that villain and start trying to understand it. And just like that, that wish that puts a spell on you becomes just a unbalanced woman, or that monster that scared you once becomes a man that has a miserable life. In this way, you can start seeing those bad feelings as a very important things for you to develop yourself. So like this, we can become like adult searchers that demystify childhood stories. So in this way, I have a suggestion for you, which is like to pick a trauma that you had in your life and transform this in a childhood story, in a bedtime story. So you can put everything in a metaphor, and you can like see everything in a different angle. So life itself is an adventure, is like full of suffering. But if we don't have like the self-knowledge as a background, we can end up seeing everything as a tragical story, as a disaster. The issue is that nothing of this story that we tell to ourselves is real in itself. If you don't have self-knowledge, you will never know that those truths that you tell to yourself, those stories, you never know that they are all soluble. And if you don't know that, they can become very solid truths. It is like when inside a story you find a character that became a talking rock. He or she was unhuman, but he became so rigid about his story or his truths that he didn't understand how soluble they were. And he really thinks that he is a piece of a wall. Or for example, the father of Jack Sparrow who was thinking that he was a part of the ship. And when you think that you cannot overcome a trauma or a situation, you can lose your faith. And by losing your faith, you can also start getting depressed. I'm not a psychologist, but I know that this is one of the main reasons of depression is like the losing your faith. And many times a person can lose the faith because they don't know that that trauma or that story or that truth are solvable. And that's what I wanted to speak to you today.
Five?
Uh-huh.